All right, everybody, welcome to the Brass Tacks Podcast. Chad, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to have you on our interview today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, so all our viewers today, I'm very, very excited to introduce Chad Hamel. He is a healer, innovator, and passionate educator. Chad is also a veterinarian with deep roots in animal health and public policy. Along with his wife, Ellen, she's a seasoned nurse that has turned a healthcare IT leader. They both have built a unique environment for children to explore the superpower of coding. Together, they brought the Coder School, the first one here to Northern Virginia, which is a community that combines the benefits of coding with physical activity, holistic development, and hands-on learning. They've got a beautiful 10-acre farm here in Loudoun County. Their mission goes beyond tech skills. They're here to inspire kids to believe in themselves and think creatively, including their own son Cooper, whose journey with hydrocephalus inspired the Hamels to create a space where kids could learn resilience, communication, and problem solving. So I'm so excited to dive into your story, Chad. A lot of this stuff I never even knew about you. So everybody who's listening, Chad and I, we have known each other for a little bit, but I'm so excited to learn more about you. So Chad, kind of
Yeah,
first just start off with, yeah, a little bit about your background, growing up. I'm so envious that you have a 10-acre farm. I want a 10-acre farm. So tell us a little bit about kind of growing up and maybe how you got into veterinary medicine since that was like your first career.
yeah. So I grew up in the great state of Oklahoma, and always knew I wanted to be a veterinarian since I was 5 years old. So it just was
Awesome.
always loved animals, and we had horses and cattle and all that good stuff. Kind of the best of both worlds. We kind of lived kind of in a suburban, but we also had a farm, so it was nice to have both of those backgrounds. And so uh, that was basically my life. I was very fortunate to be a reasonably good football player too, so that helped me be diverse, but also have a great desire for physical fitness and sort of balance between uh, my academia and athletic life. I felt like it was sort of gave me a fullness there that I we try to give to our students as well. My wife Ellen was an athlete as well, and also a STEM professional, and so we sort of try to marry those things with our school. So that's sort of my background primarily. Just a passion for animal health. Fortunate to go to the University of Oklahoma State University, where that's where I played ball there, but also got my doctor of veterinary medicine there as well. And then I did clinical practice for about a decade in the Washington, D.C. area, primarily ICU emergency work, small animal primarily. And then I moved on to the Food and Drug Administration. I'm employed and deal with food animal issues, antimicrobial resistance issues, deal a lot with AI development as well, and those kind of things. So it's been a very diverse, kind of interesting career. I would have never expected the 5-year-old Chad would be doing what I do now. I sort of had the James Harriet model in my head, but medicine evolves, everything changes, and you sort of try to keep up. And that's the other rationale for what we're doing with coding and with IT is that sort of, with the AI generation, the AI development, that most professionals will have to have at least a basic understanding of coding and how AI works, because how you form your information or your data is essential to sort of how the AI works and how AI can benefit everyone.
That is a very interesting background. And I'm excited, Chad, to get into the Coder School stuff. But first, like, that's the most interesting background I've ever heard. Football player to veterinary doc for a decade, and now you're working for the FDA on animal cruelty at the same time implementing AI. Like, is there anything you can't do?
Well, I'm humble. My kids keep me humble. My wife keeps me humble. Veterinary medicine, as you know, medicine keeps you humble. I mean, I always say that
Right.
the most humbling thing in the world was becoming a veterinarian because you're just always learning and always challenges, and you never know enough, or you're always learning. So yeah, I stay humble, but I'm very fortunate. I'm always been very interested in everything. So that's sort of, and we try, lifetime learner and just try to keep me active and learning. So I chose professions
Yeah,
and a life that really helps me do that. So I'm very fortunate, blessed
absolutely.
to
So tell us, you were doing the veterinary work for about a decade. Why did you transition out of that, to do more public policy with the FDA? What was that decision like, or what was that transition like?
so I was, as you can relate, because I've, you know, I was all in, very compassionate, and just could not break away from clinical medicine. My patients, I was just there was never a break. So I gave it a good decade, and I worked overnights, which was a hard shift. So I did 7 on, 7 off, so 18-hour shifts, and then so it was just a wonderful but very stressful decade. Got to do everything, got to see everything, got to do almost every surgery. Got everything I could out of it. Helped thousands of patients. I was in a large volume, so got to see and do everything. And then, but started to think about having a family and kids, and just needed to look for something different. So fortunately, I there was some positions opened at the FDA in the Center of Veterinary Medicine, and I was able to to uh, to be hired to do that work, and it was just a lot less day-to-day strain, and also gave me a ability to sort of have be a dedicated husband and father, and not have those sort of, my patients were everything. So I didn't feel like I could do both to the level that I wanted to do that. So it was kind of a win-win. I enjoy the macro, so the things that you do have a broader impact, and it was something completely different. I felt, as much as I love clinical medicine, I had a very fortunate career where I was able to see and do pretty much anything I could have thought of doing so it was a brand new adventure, and so it's been a nice balance to my career. But so that's about as honest of an
Yeah.
answer
All
as I
right.
can give you.
Well, and then somewhere in there, you wrote a children's book. Kind of
The
what prompted that? How did you, first of all, how did you have time for that? Was that, something that you were just doing kind of on the side for fun?
That was so it was inspired. So you sort of have a little bit of a break between your fourth year of veterinary school and when I started my job. So uh, I really love veterinary medicine and love the education, and I love everything about it. So and because I was inspired as a 5-year old and always something I wanted to do, I wanted to sort of put a positive book out there that also sort of highlighted in a fun way, in the kind of the Dr. Seuss rhyme way, how wonderful and how wonderful the veterinary profession was, what amazing things you could do, but also sort of slip in the fact that you have to be a good student, and you have to study hard and work hard to make that dream come true. So it's for younger kids. It's pretty simple. It's cute. It's done okay. It's 20 years old now or something like that, seems to date me. But that was the inspiration, was to so we that was a little project between graduating vet school and when I started my first position. But yeah,
These are the little things like I never knew that about you, Chad. I mean, we've known each other how long now, and I was like, oh, he wrote a book. Look at that. So I love doing these interviews because
yeah,
you always
yeah,
learn new things about people.
yeah. I was just going to say I got to do the podcast. I got to do the podcast thing. It's available on Amazon and Target. It is, but I want to be a veterinarian
Nice.
when I grow up. Yeah, it's cute, and we donate everything. So if you have a child, it's 5 to 8 is probably your age range for that one. But anyway, we'll move on.
No,
I just always
no.
wanted to
Hey,
do
I
that,
didn't.
Keith.
I'm gonna go. I'm a guy, yeah, and that's exactly. Hey, if you all are out there, if your kids want to be a veterinarian, go grab Shad's book. It's called "I
I
Want to
just
Be a
I
Veterinarian When I Grow Up." What a great title! Like that's perfect.
very
Like oh, this
original.
looks like a
I
good
know,
book for
very
my
very.
kid. Well, I'm gonna go pick it up and put it in the waiting area. So when clients come in, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, check out that book." My.
Yes,
Not
yes.
only did Chad write it, but we need more veterinarians in
Yes.
this world. Um, well, growing up on a farm obviously makes sense of, you going into veterinary medicine, but how did you blend like the coding? I know that's kind of two different worlds, if you think growing up on a farm and then coding, I wouldn't, naturally marry those two together. What prompted you and Ellen to kind of start the coding school here in Northern Virginia?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate. One of the schools in my elementary, even as old as I am, had a computer lab, and so I was fortunate to get an old Texas Instrument. I think I was at 7 or 8, and started coding then. So me and my brother, I have an older brother, and we really enjoyed coding. So I was introduced to computer science really early, and it's just been one of those hobbies of mine, and very interested in technology. So that's sort of the baseline there. I was and also my grandfather, who was a farmer, I mean, they were very tech advanced. I mean, they were within computers in the 70s and 80s, and he was a commodity trader, so he was very tech based and an engineer, and so a farmer and an engineer. So he really helped me fuel my passion for technology as well. So that was sort of the baseline for me. Ellen, on the other hand, was a clinical nurse as well for about a decade, did a lot of really amazing things, and then moved to uh, to the corporate side, but more into the tech side. So what she did was wrote and helped develop applications to inform patients of basically decision making. So if you had a patient that was going to go into maybe kidney surgery, Ellen would and her team would write an application or a material to help inform the patient on their choices and what to expect from whatever the disease or the procedure or whatever. So she wrote clinical content for that because she's not only is she a nurse, but she also has an MPH, and so that sort of started her drive into the tech side as they developed apps and things like that for shared decision making with patients. And so that was sort of the baseline. The primary driver for us, as I've told you before, is our oldest son Cooper. So I mean, I don't know how much we want to delve into that, but quickly he was diagnosed prenatally with a cyst and with hydrocephalus. We were told that he would never make it out of the hospital, and that so there was a tremendous amount of stress as new parents. He was our first, and so, but he had two fighters as parents and two parents with a lot of clinical background. So we were blessed to be able to utilize all of our knowledge to help him move from the prenatal period to where he is, which is in the 5th grade at Round Hill Elementary School. So, it's so, but I mentioned Round Hill because they had a coding program there, and so he started coding in kindergarten, to be honest. And so we saw not only how much he enjoyed it, but also he had, even though he had a curative surgery when he was 3 months old at Boston Children's, he still had some delays and some significant making up to do to simplify that. And coding really just he lit up. Like, he just really enjoyed it. It really started to make a difference, not only in his schoolwork, but also in his intellectual development and his social emotional. And so when we saw that, and when we experienced that, um, we had we had made a promise to ourselves and a promise to the community that had been so good to us while Cooper was going through what he was going through. And you never know how important those communities are until you're going through it. And so that was life changing. But we also wanted to pay it forward. We also felt great debt, both from our faith perspective and from the communities that have been so good for us to give back. And so that was sort of the marrying of all of our life into something like the Coder School. So it's been a passion project for us, and so we both for a long time maintained our day jobs and just did this in addition to what we normally did, because we just saw the value, and it's like anything, we wanted to give back, but we end up getting way more than we probably give. So that's the how that all began, and so that's kind of the driving force of what the Coder School was founded on, was that experience with Cooper, and what a difference coding made for him on many different levels.
I'm so glad you brought Cooper up, and if you don't mind, telling us more about his story, because obviously, I'm sure now that you guys have multiple coder schools, correct, currently?
We do. We have we Ashburn, McLean, and we just acquired Sarasota, Florida. So we do have three locations, and Ellen had a full-time job until recently, and then because it became too large and too many things going on, she's now full-time at Coder School, and I maintain my career. So yeah, we have three locations now with the Coder School.
Awesome. So I'm sure you've seen tremendous impact that you've had on the kids, in your current locations. But if you're open to it, and I'd love to hear more about, Cooper, like what kind of transition did you see in him when he did start, even if it was in kindergarten at that such early age, you know, or maybe some of the other kids in your coder schools who do have, neurodevelopmental, issues. What kind of change did you see in Cooper that you were like, change, you said it was obviously a huge, impact on you and Ellen, but what types of things do you feel like the coding or the programs was able to improve his symptoms or his behaviors?
So great question. For Cooper, it was almost everything. So I mean, they initially thought he was on the spectrum because he was, he required headphones because he couldn't deal with, even though he'd been at preschools and others, really couldn't deal with the loud sounds of a larger environment at school. Very, very emotional. We would get called. He was crying. He was unable to focus. He was not interested or really struggling with even the basic tenets of reading and math and any the social emotional, just having friends or talking, having relationships with fellow students or communicative with other students. And once he started coding, because the whole class did the projects, and I think because he could it focus on the project, it was something he really loved to do. It kind of forced him to engage with his other students, with his teachers, and he started to look forward to going to school. So he became more open, happier, more relaxed, and then you just started to see his progress, whether it be at that age, letters, numbers, those things started to improve. And so you started to see his entire performance, his entire attitude at home and at school improve. And we see that a lot. So probably because we're involved in those communities, and because that's a primary driver, probably 25 to maybe more, 30% of our students are on neurodivergent. And we see that constantly. Not only do a lot of them excel based on, some of the skills or the talents that the spectrum or even ADHD gives them, sort of the application, the skill set fits technology. Just their attention to detail, their the way they like to interface with a computer. They get so much out of that versus they may have some challenges with other folks. I mean, same with therapy animals. Some kids do really great with animals versus people. Technology, sort of, you see the same sort of benefit, and depending on the child. So that's sort of, so we see them happier. They're more open. They enjoy coming there. Then they really build those relationships with their instructors, and then they're just it's something that they really love, but also they excel at. And that may be the first time that they've ever experienced something that they excelled at. Like that was other Coopers. Like he was really good at it, and that positive feedback really was a you know build confidence. And there's the term confidence builds success, and success builds confidence. So I think that's what we see as well. So and we have kids in all kinds of different ranges, and for the most part they all excel and thrive in that environment. But so that's, I know I ramble, but that's sort of the gist of it.
I think that's a great story. I did not put that together. Is there a lot of research behind that showing, that coding can help kids with neurodevelopmental challenges? And
There
can you
is,
expand
yeah.
on that?
So
You probably know better than I. What do
yeah,
they see in this case studies or the research show?
a lot of what we see here. So UVA's done a lot of work. So just to plug in for UVA, that's where Ellen, she was a rower and on the track team, and also where she got all of her college degree. With the exception of she got her master's at George Washington. But so we're big UVA fans, or at least she is. But so UVA is probably a premier center. So they've actually developed a program with data science because they have done the research and done a lot of work in regards to the um, the fit between kids on the spectrum or high functioning kids on the spectrum or Asperger's and that connection with how well they deal with data, how well they can their mind works in regards to being able to do very well in math and do very well in understanding certain physics concepts, but they just have a great memory. They have a great um, affinity for numbers. They see things differently. They process much faster, and so they actually developed an entire program where they that we've emulated, and hopefully we have a bunch of our instructors there in UVA who work there as well now. That's been the other huge blessing is the amount of development that we in the community that we've built between our instructors, because there are a lot of times they're juniors, seniors at the Academy of Loudoun, they're college students, they're young professionals, and that's the other great benefit of the way the Coder School works, is that we're instructor driven. So we get all these wonderful people in our lives. And so back to that point, so UVA has done a lot of work there. And so they actually have a program where high functioning high school kids who uh, they actually have an entire data science program specifically targeted for that population. And then Harvard, other maybe I believe John Hopkins and others have looked at the connection between coding and cognitive function improvement, educational performance improvement, and social emotional improvement. And I think, the field of a lot of your more famous programmers, your more famous developers like in Meta or SpaceX are folks who admittedly state that they're on the spectrum and they have and you just see that connection and that development and their affinity and ability to excel at STEM. So I hope that answers. I mean, I could go on and happy to give a little more detail, but that's sort of the overview of that. So I think there's just a fit between what we under their ability to connect to math, physics, and technology. It just seems to all fit the way their minds are wired, the way they function.
And I love that you guys at the code or you have this approach to in combination with the, coding, you guys also incorporate like physical activity. So expand on that,
Mhm.
Chad, and why you feel like that's important and how and what kind of development you see in the kids, joining those two sides of the coin together.
Yeah, so I don't have very many good ideas, but this is my one good one. So 5 years ago, when we were developing the Coder School and we were looking for partners, we found Loudon Soccer, and they were our first youth sports partnership. And when we were working out the details on how best to form this sponsorship, we worked out something called Kick and Code. And so, my idea behind that was that I wanted these kids who may be more STEM, more academic minded, to possibly marry the things that they like robotics and coding, and video games with physical activity, and also to be able to get kids who may be more enjoy physical activity more, being more into sports than they are in IT or STEM, and be able to marry those two into a program. And so Kick and Code sort of developed from that. And so what that is we do these summer camps. We've expanded to McLean Youth Soccer as well, where our other location is, where it's an all-day camp, summer camp, and so they do a half day of soccer camp, and then they have lunch, and then we pick them up, and then they do a half day of coding or robotics or whatever that week is, and they've been massively successful. Just it's just been such a cool thing to see a little concept grow to where it is now. And then we also our partners now with Ashburn Ice House, and so we have a skate and code, which is a similar. So they do a half day of skating, and then they do a half day of coding, and or hockey and coding, and we just those are just uh, awesome. And so that's sort of the way we've married that together. Is the hope is that we they get a fullness there. So if that makes sense.
Well, what types of changes have you seen in the kids now that you're marrying the ice house, the soccer? You also have, do you have one also with the martial arts as well? Like what kind of, prior to doing that and just having the t kids do the coding, obviously you've seen a lot of benefit, but marrying the physical activity with the coding, have you seen what types of changes have you seen the kids when you do incorporate the physical activity?
I think we just see a lot of kids open to STEM. So a lot of kids that may have never coded before, never did robotics before, they stay or continue with us and develop develop that part of their brain, develop that part of their body, and also plenty of kids who have went on to play Loudon soccer or find a sport, find a dance, whatever, get more confidence in their physical ability. But primarily, it's just they just have a really fun experience in the summer as well. So it's just sort of hopefully it's just a massive amount of positivity, and that's the feedback that we've gotten. I mean, so some kids do all summer, but just based on the demand and based on the feedback, it's a fun, healthy, educational thing that folks do in the summer and seem to really enjoy. So I think, you know, getting kids. So one of our primary focuses, we want coding to be fun. So we don't, so that's why we don't do long-term contracts. We don't do we have kids that'll do a sport and they'll come back. That's the other aspect. So you'll see kids who will, like the winter's big. Once sports ends, they join us and they do their coding when they're not doing their sports, and then they go back to their sports and they come back. And so it's a nice little relationship there because if they're getting a little tired of sports, they can do coding for a while and then go back to sports. And we encourage that kind of relationship with us and with sports as well, is that's nice balance there. And so we see a lot of kids who do that, and we see that development. And it's wild to see kids that started with us almost 6 years ago going to college and in computer science, and they'd never coded before. Or, I mean, it's really cool to see how they grow up and and do amazing things. And we're a small part, maybe we are or aren't, but it's great to be a part of that and to see those kids find something they love and thrive at it. That's a benefit to all of us, I think.
For sure. And who knows, you might have the next Elon Musk sitting in your coder school right now, just,
I
about to take over the world. But don't sell yourself short, Chad. What do the parents say? Obviously you've got great success stories from, your experience with Cooper, but what are the parents saying? What kind of feedback do you get from them? Do they tell you of any success stories that they've seen in their kids, going through the coder school program?
absolutely, yes. I mean, we have, yes, I think we may have one of the higher retention rates of any school in the country. So there's about 70 coder schools around the country. So our kids are with us probably an average of 2 to 3 years. So we're very fortunate that we see these kids grow. But yeah, just um, massive, especially in that community. They're so thankful to have that available, and they like our model. So they like the fact that it's small, 1-to-1, 2-to-1 with the instructor, and it sort of fits into what's their more ideal learning environment. But yeah, I mean that's where we get most of it, is sort of just those stories. So yeah, just tremendous positive testimonies to coding and tech or camps, or yeah, it's been wonderful. But yeah, plenty of those stories.
Tell me about the Arc of Loudoun. What's going on with them?
So one funny story that they like to tell. So we provide free coding services to some of their students in their Aurora school, and one of them had parents who were both PhDs in computer science, but he had never really coded before. So he joined our program, and he just like we talked about, he obviously had tremendous knack for coding. And so the joke was it didn't take him about a month before he hacked into the Arc of Loudoun system and shut it down. So they love to tell that story about how that kid, he had a complete knack for it. And um so those are kind of the stories that you get, but that one's funny and that we share it a lot with the Arc. So, and the Arc of Loudoun is amazing. I just have to give a little bit of a plug to what they do. They really are an amazing group of I mean, take a tour, see what they do. It's amazing. So, been very another one of those doors that opened that have been been a huge blessing.
Absolutely. So for parents that want to, what's the most common misconception or people that don't know what coder school is all about? Like, what advice would you have for parents that maybe they want to get their kid interested in coding or, maybe they are an athlete, but they don't, they want to expose them to more of the IT side of things, what advice would you have for parents or what, like how many kids per class? Like in a typical, you said it's a, one-on-one setting. What's the typical size of a coder school class? How many instructors are there? What does the program entail? Like, what's a typical day to sending your kid to coder school?
So I would just encourage them, whether you're with us or anyone, to encourage them to learn how to code or get very understand how tech works. I'll start with the one misconception I think with AI is that coding will be obsolete, and I think that's untrue. I just think it'll be less specific for as a as a job per se, but we all will need to 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 be able to communicate through coding, to be able to, as I said at the beginning of this, to communicate with AI and to get AI to do the right things that you want to do. So there are plenty of free platforms that they could start with. I mean, there's plenty of things that they can do at home. I just encourage them to make it part of their academic profile, just like math and reading. I think computer science and even robotics are just as important at this point moving forward. And so, whether it's their schools provided or whether there's applications online that they can tap into to start to to understand that. As far as for us, the Coder School, we're a little different. I think we're unique in that we are not software driven. We are instructor driven and personalized. That's probably why we have so many kids, in different communities that excel with us, is because they are taught by an instructor, and so they're not set in front of a computer and then you know just having the computer teach them. They have an instructor right there with them to teach them the why and the how. And that's kind of our differences. We really focus on the how. So we can teach any coding language, and we do, and we teach kids from 6 to college level. We have college students that will use us for tutoring services. But the primary thing that we like to do is teach kids critical thinking, logic, and also the principles of computer science so they understand how it works. Because languages will evolve. Python, I think, continues to evolve, and there's different versions of Python, which is a computer tech language. But understanding how it works, the structural definition, kind of like with you and I are taught physiology and anatomy, learning about normal, learning how that functions. And so we're presented with all kinds of different things that impact the body, but we understand and can diagnose from that because we can structurally understand how and why things work. Same with computer science. So that's where we really focus on is sort of that. So a normal day would be depending on your age. So our younger kids normally start in our code classes, which are our most cost effective, and we're the most affordable code class in Northern Virginia, but we're also the lowest ratio. So it's 6 to 1. So kids between 6 and 8, 9, they've never coded before. They'll come in once a week and they'll get an hour of coding with an instructor, and they all build the same project. And and they have the kind of the social aspects of it, but they learn block based. Scratch is kind of where they all start. And then once they develop in that code class for a year or so, some excel fast, some excel slower, but then they'll sort of graduate into to different maybe more personalized coding or text-based coding, or if they need another year, if they're extremely young, they can stay in the code class till they're ready to advance as well. So our primary bread and butter for sort of our kids between 10 and 12, 10 to 18 is it would be our 2-to-1 or a 1-to-1, which is private tutoring, private instruction. And 2-to-1 is basically two kids on a computer. They're learning and their instructor's right in the middle and helping answer questions, ask questions, uh, and help them develop projects. And so we focus on projects as well because that's a way to apply it. It's kind of like I hate to use this term, you guys. It's kind of like surgery. The only way to become a really good surgeon is to do it and to practice and to really understand. And the more kind of like as a pilot too. Same thing with coding. So we want them to build something. We want to apply it. We don't want it just to be, you know, uh, memorization or those things. We really want them to get a fullness of it. So they build projects together, like video games, or depending on they could, we've had them build some amazing data and their own applications, like for water quality, or I mean, we do all kinds of interesting projects these kids can do. They sort of blow you away about what some of these kids can do. So I hope that answers that. So that's sort of the baseline of kind of what we do. So I encourage, whether it's with us, with anyone, please get your kids in some sort of tech, some sort of STEM, technology STEM, because it's just essential for them moving forward, I believe.
And tell me more about the robotics. How does that work with is that kids building like their own robots or is that just another project essentially?
So we combine robotics. So some of our kids who code, we love to do coding, and they'll do an hour of coding, an hour of robotics. Robotics are much more fun in a group, so they'll do maybe they're 2-to-1 on a Tuesday. Then Saturdays we have a lot of robotics classes. It's 6-to-1. They go and they build that together. But yes, they build their own. So it starts with a kit. They'll first part of robotics, usually 8 to 10 week. They build the robots, and then once they got the robots built, so there's an engineering component. Then they'll learn how to program it and learn how to get the robot to do certain tasks that they want to do. So it's sort of a great fun, interactive, using their hands to build something, and then really be able to see in the physical world something that they can program and they build do these amazing things, whether it be win a race or you know make certain choices. I tend to be I like agricultural robotics, so you know like for applications like that, like for example pulling weeds, or other tasks that can help make the farm more efficient and healthier as well. And we can delve in that if you want to or not. But so yeah, that's sort of the baseline. So about 6-to-1, they build the robot, they program the robot, and they're on teams. We have a Lego robotics team that's competing next week that we sponsor, and we our coaches or our instructors are part. They help the team to get ready for their competitions, etc. So it's a fun component, but for kids who like to be hands-on, it's really a nice thing to do.
I think I've got to recruit some of these kids to come work on some of my old antique cars and possibly we can you know I can
Yeah,
get some
yeah,
free labor and they can probably make my cars run again. That would be great. Um,
yeah.
And how
Yeah.
about with AI, with AI, Chad, being so popular now, and I know you've started the coder schools for, a number of years. How has AI and the introduction of AI, has it changed any of your programs, or is it just a new factor that you're now introducing into the coder school?
So you teach the front end and the back end. So I think for us, so you learn how to code AI. You learn machine learning is what's called. So you have that aspect of it, and then the other aspect of it, there's so many factors. I deal with a lot from the front side, the data side. So the way machine learning, to make it simple, it's basically like you're providing information for the computer to learn, but also to basically uh, code itself, and to take that information and be able to utilize that or make its own decisions or its own analytics as well. Utilize that data, and not only that, speed up search functions, speed up I don't want to go all the way into that, but basically the other aspects that we try to teach is logic, critical thinking, and then the biggest question with AI that we try to at least get kids to think about is the ethics as well, and the importance of good data versus not good data. And the reason why that is uh, the machine is only as good as the data you provide it. So if you provide it data that's not um, solid, then your AI will may be flawed, or and in that case may do things you don't want it to do. So I think those are, teaching them how to program it, how to develop it on the back end, how to create it, and then on the front end, sort of the how to the importance of great data, the importance of using it responsibly, the ethics of AI, et cetera, et cetera. Data integrity, quality data, all those things go into one. So it's actually a really important thing to be teaching, whether it's with us or anywhere in schools, is really the importance of data that is solid. And before you put it in there, to be honest with
I did hear, I think it was like Mark Cuban was talking about how AI, you mentioned it earlier, how, some people believe AI is going to take over programming roles or jobs. Why do you feel that that is not necessarily the case with how AI, may or may not progress in today's world?
So I do these talks now, sometimes uh, sustainable agriculture, and I we can get into that some other time maybe. But the primary there is I use the Luke Skywalker model, right? So I see that as the for those who've seen Star Wars or whatever, Luke Skywalker was a farmer when he starts out. He's a mechanic. He's a coder. He's a jet pilot. He's a robotic mechanic, and I see that relationship as the healthy relationship between artificial intelligence, robotics, and tech moving forward. Is that where they sort of allow an individual, like, to be empowered more and allow more efficiency, whether it be a farm or a business. But I do think that relationship, that unique relationship with humans, and what we provide, is a nice offset to the AI world. So I have probably a more positive viewpoint of that if we follow that model. And so that's what, the kids relate to that. They understand what I'm saying. That's exciting for them, because we are moving towards, more space travel. The Artemis project is NASA's project to put bases on the moon within this decade, etc. So these kids are going to be living in a way where maybe expanded interplanetary travel. So I think when you're out there, I think we're actually going back to more of a broad education model where kids need to learn how to fix their car or fix their, so because, if it's 10 of you on a planet by yourself, you got to figure it out. So I think that those are,
Somebody,
there will be, go ahead.
no, I was saying, yeah, need a mechanic on Mars just like you need a mechanic here in Loudoun County, right?
Yeah, and so I think that's the relationship that I would envision. That would be the goal as a thought leader there. That's my goal. I think that it allows people to do more. I think it empowers folks to probably be more entrepreneurial, more independent. I do think some of the consolidation maybe will go away, but I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there. I'm not as pessimistic as others in regards to, we're all just going to sit around doing nothing while the science, basically takes over and we just watch TV or stream or whatever it is. I just don't envision that with the human spirit and with the desire that humans have to build and to learn and to do cool things. I see I call it the Luke Skywalker model. That's my goal for how I think and hope we develop. Not the Darth Vader model, but the Luke Skywalker model.
And what do you feel, kind of looking ahead, with the coder schools, or do you have any upcoming projects, any exciting new things that are coming to? I know you guys just recently purchased the Sarasota location. Anything new here in Loudoun County that's coming up? Any, whether it's for the holidays or anything new we can tell our viewers about to check out for?
Yeah, so we started an after school pickup that was it's our first year doing that in our our Ashburn location, and we tweaked that to where we think it's a really high quality, affordable fit. And that's growing, but we hope to see that expand. And what that basically is, we pick up at local elementary schools. They get picked up. They come to our school. They do an hour of logic, robotics, computer science principles, and then they do an hour of coding. And it's priced amazingly. So it's been popular, but we are growing it, and we got the kinks out, I think, as far as what parents needed the most and what schools needed it the most. So we'll be rolling out more, maybe some Black Friday on that one, as far as some promotional things on that program because it's brand new, to get people to learn about it and try it out. But that's been sort of the exciting thing. We are offering more robotics. We will be rolling out our camp schedules soon. We try to get that done before December, so parents have plenty of time to pick what they need and get their schedules. And the only ones I warn about is the ones we talked about earlier, the skate and code, kick and codes. They sell out fast, so we'll make people. Usually December 1 to January 1, those will hit the website. So those are sold directly with our youth sports partners. So those will be available at Loudoun Soccer, their website. They will be available at Ashburn Ice House on their website and McLean Youth Soccer on their website. So, and then we just continue to develop our programs, more AI focus, more robotics focus. Those are the primary one is different than our normal programs is the after school program at Ashburn.
And with that and all your passions, I mean, you've got such an interesting background, and this is why I love doing these interviews from animals to technology. I know you and Ellen also are, invested in your community with a lot of partnerships, but also, scholarships and providing computers to underprivileged kids. So talk a little bit about that. Who do you partner with on that to kind of give back to those underprivileged kids?
Yeah, so we do provide. I talked about our relationship with Arc of Loudoun, so we've developed Tech Ability, which is more for certain kids that may have aged out of the programs, and they're looking for something to do, possibly vocationally. So tech abilities, so you can go through Arc of Loudon and do that one. So we provide free coding instruction and teaching in that program. So that's been a really wonderful program, and we're expanding and building off that program. So we do. Youth sports has been a really big driving force for us as far as what we do in the community. So we've really tried to support those, especially during COVID when things were tough. So we tried to do our best to step up during that period of time, but we still support, dozens of youth sports leagues and teams, and that's been a huge benefit. One other thing we do is we provide really great first time jobs for seniors. They have to be, A+ computer science students, but we get a lot of those kids that their first time job, and then if they work a number of hours for us, we'll provide scholarships for them for college. And so I think we've had about a dozen kids that we still have kids that are graduating and adding. So we've been able to help with developing the future of computer science, and these kids are amazing. So be able to help to see that development. A lot of college level kids the same as they come and learn, and ironically, these kids are amazing coders and amazing brilliant kids, but the kids really relate too. So it's kind of cool to see the mentor relationship where these young kids really look up to these college kids or these young professionals, and inspire them, and it's really fun to see that dynamic. We've done a lot of second language coding for free too. So we unfortunately InMed for children is no longer open, but we did their computer lab for several years where we taught kids in second language, and that's an important aspect of that. It's actually great because coding is English primarily an English driven specialty. So to be able to teach these kids English, but also be able to teach them computer science is really a great, really an amazing thing to watch, and they love it. And so to provide those opportunities, so we still do our best to provide second language opportunities for kids who English may not be their primary language in regards to computer science. And then we obviously do our best to provide low cost or free coding to kids who really, really need it. And so, we try to extend that, and it's case by case, but we do a lot of that as well, as where whatever the circumstances, we try to step in and provide something positive. And yeah, and that's probably, to be honest, I'm most proud of our efforts during COVID, to be honest. So we really made a huge effort to try to step up and provide open education, some where kids could go, and where our coaches could go, and safely, and 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 support the youth sports and things that weren't really getting the funds, or really were getting the support they needed during that period of time. And so that is probably the thing that gave us a lot of purpose, and really something that we really tried to do.
Thanks for supporting all those partnerships and programs for those that are less fortunate. I feel like here in Loudoun County, we often forget, because it's such an affluent area, that there is a huge population of underprivileged kids. So I appreciate, all that you and Ellen do to support that demographic. What do you feel like you're most I know you're humble. I know you're humble, Chad, but this is your chance to brag. But like, from being a veterinarian to, working for the FDA, to now starting these cool coder schools, and even some of the things we haven't talked about, what do you feel like you're most proud of?
Well, I mean, for me, is my family. And so, I mean, it's the true. So I'm very fortunate. So that's to me, my family is making sure that there was a huge blessing. So, you know, our whole experience with both our children, but Cooper, it was we consider it a miracle, and so we're very grateful for that. Um and it's yeah, it's hard to, not I'll focus on kind of where we are now, and that, I think we have 132 students that have learned to code with us in 6 years, that are now somewhere in college doing that. That I think, I think we averaged, way more now than we did as far as overall students, but that's a high percentage of kids, and that is awesome. And then to see all the first time jobs we've created, I think we at one time will have 60 or 70 employees. Very proud of that. I was taught early that to create a job is a really amazing thing to do, and to be able to do it at that scale has been a huge blessing. And to watch these young people thrive and grow, and they make this positive impacts, and then you see that hopefully multiply. So that's been a huge blessing to see those folks, just to see the numbers. That for me, my that's what I get out of the coder school, is those variables. That's my currency, is how many kids have how many kids have we helped, how many kids are moving on to STEM and going to college, and going on to doing the things they want to do, and getting scholarships and whatever else. But so that's broadly speaking, that's sort of what I get out of the coder school.
And what do you feel like? What's the next step? If there is one, because you're doing a lot. I know you've got a lot of agriculture stuff. What do you feel like? What would you like to hope to achieve in the future, that you
I
maybe
would like
maybe
to
it's an area you haven't yet pursued, or what do you think?
um I really would like to. So at some point, sustainable food, agriculture, marrying technology and agriculture is a passion of mine. And so, healthier food, more opportunities to be a small business owner, more opportunities to make food local, more opportunities to provide this amazing life of what I think is citizen farmers, in the sense of technology can really help everybody grow their own food and do their own thing, and I do see a lot of benefits there. So that's my number one passion, and we're trying to develop ideas to bring those type of programs to Northern Virginia. And so that would be either whether we continue to expand to our coder school or do something more broad. But I'd really like to be my contribution at some point is um, bringing that, marrying those two things into sort of a model that really has a positive impact on folks. That's sort of my dream, I guess, is where I would like to go.
Now I've got to ask, on the 10-acre farm, do you already have a, proven model, proof of concept? Have you been trying it
We don't have a
with
robot
your
yet
with the
because
kids?
yeah, that's a goal. But no, quite honestly, it just we have a nice garden here, and we have alpacas, and we have the things that we do as a gentleman farmer. But unfortunately, I'm so busy with everything that we're doing right now, and my kids are young still, so it's youth sports and school and the business and my day job and all of those things. So those are but so no, we don't have a proof of concept here. We should. That's a hole in my theory, but I'll work on it.
All right.
Practice what you preach, right?
Awesome. Well, hey, farming is hard. You can't farmers, that's a full-time job. So you've got a lot on your plate. If, some of our viewers are looking to get their kids into coder school, how do they find you? How do they sign up? I know you said you got the Ashburn location. Where can they find information on that, a website
Yeah.
or
Yep. The easiest way is the Coder School at Ashburn or the Coder School at McLean. If you're in Florida, if we have that reach, it's the Coder School at Sarasota.
yeah.
But that's the easiest because then you go on our website and you can sign up for a free trial, and that's how everybody gets a free trial, 30 minutes. See if they like it, see if we're a fit, see if try it out before you buy it. And again, our we also we're month to month as well, so you can start and stop if you need to, all those things. But our websites at the Coder School Ashburn, the Coder School McLean, and the Coder School Sarasota are the best way to find us and to contact us, and we'll take care of you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on, Chad. It's been a very, very enlightening and interesting conversation. And maybe next time, we just focus on your agricultural goals and who knows, by then, the kids might be a little bit older. Maybe you've got your proof of concept down. But yeah, I appreciate you being on
Yeah,
the interview.
yeah, so I can raise my shoulders up now thanks to you. So I appreciate you very much, and that was a that was a huge benefit too. So I really, you've changed my life as far as going. I can play catch again and all those things. So appreciate everything you do, and um, it was an amazing experience to be your patient as well. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Awesome, Chad. Well, we
Yeah.
will connect soon. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.